My mom has been planning this family vacation overseas. When she first told us about this trip last year, she said that she would pay for all the expenses once we arrive at the destination. She will also be paying for her flights and my sister's flights, and that I would just have to pay for my flights. She and my sister booked for 10 days while I decided to book for a month. The reason behind this is that my sister has mobility issues and my mom is nearing her 60s, and there are activities that I want to do that they can't do, like hiking and other outdoorsy stuff. So I'm going to do all those activities when I'm on my own after the 10 days. Since I'm planning to stay for a month, I'm fully prepared to pay for the rest of my trip, knowing that my mom had promised to pay for my expenses for the 10 days that we're all together. Now she's asking me to pay for some of the expenses during the 10 days, specifically the hotel, which is pricey, and I don't want to. Her argument is that I just got a big promotion a few months ago and that I should be able to afford it. The thing is, this isn't the only trip that I'm planning this year. Then she argued that I frequently travel on my own and that I should make sacrifices just once for this family trip. Not true, because I have always been paying for my share on past family trips. I even willingly paid for some of my sister's expenses, as she is a student and is fully dependent on our mom. Yes, I can afford it, but it would mean cutting some costs on the solo leg of my trip. Or had I known that I'd end up sharing some of the expenses for this family trip, I wouldn't have booked for a month. So am I the idiot? Edit to add, she wanted me to pay 50% of the hotel costs and not 1/3 of it, which meant covering my sister's expenses too. Update, thanks for all the comments here. I really have learned my lesson to not disclose my finances, travel plans, and anything related to my spending habits to my mom. My mom and I already have a strained relationship due to her blatant favoritism with my sister. My sister is well aware of this, and she constantly takes my side. But I really can't fault her for not affording things because of her situation. I have always paid for my share in past family vacations. I even paid for some of my sister's expenses and had no problems with it because it was my decision to do so. Which is why I was really excited when my mom offered to pay for all my expenses on this one, minus the flight, but sucks that it's not actually happening. To those asking, she didn't have any sudden financial crisis. I think the reason why mom suddenly wants to go back on her word is that she didn't plan this trip well. For the past months, I kept telling her to book things way in advance to get the best prices. But she ignored that, and now the hotel rates are pricier than what she wanted to pay. My mom is well off, just that she didn't expect to pay as much due to her poor planning. I have been offering to plan the trip a few months ago, but she kept saying that it was too early to plan and refuses to talk to me about it. And I really can't reserve anything without her approval, so that was that. Anyway, it's too late to cancel my flight, and I'm already out $800. I can rebook it for $75 plus fare differences and travel solo, but if I'm not going, my sister won't be going. So with my sister taking my side on this one, my mom has already booked and paid for the hotel, choosing a more affordable yet still decent option. While she did promise to pay for all my expenses at the destination, I'm just going to assume that it isn't happening and be prepared to pay for myself. For example, food, local transportation, tours, activities, etc. This will probably be the last time I'm joining a family trip, though. Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1, not the idiot. Sure, you can afford more if you give up other future trips, but your mom made an offer and you accepted. Then when it was too late to change anything, she rescinded the offer. It doesn't matter what else you were doing with your own time and funds or how much you have. Your mother made an offer and then reversed it because of course it's easier for her to spend your money. Comment 2, not the idiot. I seem to be going against the early consensus, but your mom made an offer, you accepted, and then she changed the terms after locking you into flight arrangements. If she was tight on money, she could have A, told you before, then she wanted you to contribute to hotel costs by covering only yourself, not part of your sister, and B, booked a cheaper hotel. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more about this mess. So after all that drama with the trip planning, things took a turn for the worse. My mom, out of nowhere, decided to invite her new boyfriend along. This guy, I barely know him, and suddenly he's coming on our family vacation. My sister was just as shocked as I was, but mom was acting like it was the most natural thing in the world. This guy, let's call him Mr. New, has been in the picture for a few months, and I've always had a weird feeling about him. He's charming, sure, but there's something off. My sister tried to protest, but Mom shut her down, saying that Mr. New would make the trip more enjoyable for everyone. I didn't buy it for a second, and then the news dropped. Mom announced that Mr. New would be staying in the same hotel room as us. That's right, the pricey hotel room that she's now paying less for because she chose a cheaper option. The room that I'm supposed to pay half for. It was like a slap in the face. I was fuming, but I held it in because I didn't want to upset my sister more than she already was. But wait, it gets better. Mr. New, the freeloader, suddenly became the trip planner. He started changing our itinerary, adding activities that were clearly more his style than ours. Hiking? Gone. Quiet museum visits? Replaced with loud, crowded tourist traps. And the worst part? Mom was letting him. It was like she was under some spell. I couldn't take it anymore. I confronted Mom about it, about how this was supposed to be a family trip, not a romantic getaway for her and Mr. New. She brushed me off, saying I was being too sensitive and that I should be more welcoming. I couldn't believe it. My own mother choosing this guy over her kids' feelings. The trip was a disaster waiting to happen, and I was caught in the middle of it. I started to feel like I was just there to foot the bill and make up the numbers. My sister was miserable, I was angry, and Mom was oblivious, lost in her own little world with Mr. New. In the end, I did what I thought was best. I paid for the hotel, the full half, not just my third. I did it for my sister, so she wouldn't miss out on the trip because of Mom's poor decisions. But I made a decision of my own. I decided that once the 10 days were up, I'd go on my solo adventure and cut all ties with Mr. New's influence. I'd do the hiking, the quiet museum visits, everything I had planned without them. It was a tough pill to swallow, accepting that my family vacation had turned into a showcase for Mom's new boyfriend. But I did it, and I'm still doing it. I'm out here on my own, trying to salvage what's left of my trip. And you know what? It's not so bad. I'm finding peace in the solitude, away from the chaos. Thanks for reading this far. It's been a chaotic ride, and I appreciate you being here for it. My wife's sister stirs up trouble in our home, so I change the locks and show her who's boss. My wife and I have 4 kids, 13-year-old twins, 8-year-old, 4-month-old, PPD with our last baby, and she often struggles, in a sense of her not being able to turn her brain off. She's getting better, but she's still snappy at times. I currently work 12-hour overnight shifts 5 days a week, and she works 20 hours a week from home. Due to this, she has the kids constantly, and she's very, very touched out. Ever since she gave birth, our older 3 have been over-the-top clingy and seem to be reverting back to toddler stage. Like our daughter, one of the 13-year-old twins, earlier asked my wife how to plug in the microwave. Or all of a sudden, our 8-year-old is asking his mother to help him find clothes and tie his shoes for him again. It's a desperate cry for attention. We are all in therapy, both individual and family therapy, and the therapist is helping us work through it, but it seems to be getting worse. Like, we can't even plan a family outing without the kids, without the 3 older kids either gripping onto their mother or walking so close in front/behind her that they are tripping her and refuse to watch out when told. So it has absolutely been hell. But like I said, we are trying to work through this with therapy. Well, 2 weeks ago, my wife implemented a rule that no one was allowed to talk to her when she had her headphones in or when she's taking a shower. As I'm sure you guessed already, the kids were even bugging her endlessly during those times. And my wife stated she needs a freaking break in silence and for people to stop hanging off her arm. She even snapped the other day saying, "Can none of you do anything for yourselves? No? Why don't I wipe your asses for you too while I'm at it?" Because our son, 13-year-old twin, asked her where his cup was instead of moving the coffee pot to look for himself, and then asked her at the same time to make him mac and cheese, despite knowing how, because yours tastes better. She was in the middle of feeding the baby, so she snapped. Anyways, now no one is allowed to bug her under any circumstances when she's showering, or when she has headphones in, maybe once a week for the headphones, showering every other day for maybe 10 minutes, so it's not a huge ask. Anyways, I got a text from my son earlier saying, "Mom is grounding us and taking our stuff away for a week," and then 0 response. I go home about an hour later and my wife is livid. All the kids' electronics are piled on the counter, and all the kids are in their bedrooms with the doors shut. I asked what happened, and she said she went to take a shower, and the kids came in 5 times in a 10-minute period, so she grounded them from everything for a week and sent them to their rooms. I feel she's being too harsh because I know they just want her attention. Now she's pissed at me for making her feel bad for needing a freaking minute to herself. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. Your wife desperately needs help. If you're coming at her for being too harsh on the kids, what she gets is that she's in this totally alone. Your reaction compounds her overwhelm. Her actions may have a negative effect on the kids, but all she's trying to do is keep from drowning. That's the issue. Come at her with compassion. Sounds like she's going to break. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Your wife is at the end of her tether and she's crying out for help. Are you deaf? There is no reason in the world kids of 8 and 13 should be interrupting your wife in the shower unless it's an emergency. Maybe now that she's held them accountable for their actions, they'll see she means business. And you need to be backing her up 100%. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around. Things have gone from bad to worse. Remember how my wife needed her space and the kids couldn't respect that? Well, it escalated. She started locking the bathroom door during showers. But our daughter, the one who forgot how to plug in a microwave, picked the lock with a bobby pin. My wife came out in a towel, screaming like I've never seen before. She took away all the kids' privileges. No TV, no games, nothing. They were grounded for a month. Then my wife's sister got involved. She's always been nosy, but this time she crossed a line. She came over uninvited, started lecturing us on parenting. My wife lost it, told her to get out and mind her own business. They haven't spoken since. It's been a month of Cold War in the family. Work's been tough for me too. My boss caught me dozing off, gave me a final warning, said next time I'm out, I can't afford to lose this job, not with everything going on at home. The kids started acting out more at school. The principal called us in, said our 8-year-old was caught stealing another kid's lunch, and the twins were bullying a classmate. We were mortified. Therapy sessions doubled. The therapist said it's a cry for help, but honestly, it feels like we're sinking. One night I came home to find my wife crying in the dark. She said she couldn't do it anymore, that she felt trapped. I tried to comfort her, but she pushed me away. Said she needed to be alone. She packed a bag and left that night. Stayed at a friend's place. I was left alone with the kids, trying to explain why mommy needed time away. The next few weeks were chaos. I had to take time off work to handle the kids. My boss wasn't happy, said my personal life was affecting my performance. I was hanging by a thread. Then the school called again. Our daughter had been caught cheating on a test. They suspended her. When I confronted her, she broke down, said she just wanted things to go back to normal. I didn't know what to say. My wife came back after 2 weeks. She apologized to the kids, said she loved them, but needed to be strict for their own good. They hugged it out, but things were tense. Just when I thought we could breathe, my wife found texts on our son's phone. He'd been messaging a girl from school, saying things no 13-year-old should say. My wife took his phone away indefinitely. He was furious, said we were ruining his life. Amidst all this, my wife's sister had a health scare. She was in the hospital for a few days. My wife went to see her, and they made up. But her sister started giving her ideas. Said maybe the kids needed a firmer hand, maybe even military school for the twins. That was the last straw for me. I told my wife, no way were we sending our kids away. We had a huge fight. I said her sister was toxic, that she was making things worse. My wife accused me of not supporting her. I couldn't take it anymore. I did something I never thought I'd do. I told her sister to stay out of our lives. I changed the locks on the doors. My wife was shocked, but I stood my ground. I said our family needed to heal without outside interference. It's been a week since then. The house is quieter. The kids are slowly earning back their privileges. My wife and I are talking more, trying to be a team. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Thanks for reading. My neighbor fought tooth and nail against my fence, but after her son found solace. In it, I had the last laugh and peace at last. I, a 26-year-old female, moved into my house last December, a semi-detached in the UK. It's just me and my 2 cats, and while the neighbor I'm connected to is great, I'm having problems with my neighbor on the other side. She is a woman in her 40s and not connected to my property. On our whole street of semi-detached houses, the gap between the houses is divided by a fence that goes down the middle of our driveways. They are not shared driveways. Every house has its own driveway, and we all have parking bays outside our houses too. However, mine and my neighbor's houses are the only ones that don't have a fence between them. The previous owner loved her, and she was nice when I first met her. However, our second time speaking was when I went over to tell her about the fence situation. Legally, I'm allowed to put up a fence, but I just wanted to inform her. She switched from being as nice as pie to groaning and sighing, saying she'd lived there for 20 years and liked not having a fence because she'd hated a previous owner's fence and convinced the last owner to take it down. I told her I wanted one for my privacy and safety, as well as for my cats, as having no fence and gate makes my house extremely open to the road. She then proceeded to tell me, unprompted, that she's divorcing her husband as he was cruel towards her, and she now lives alone with her 13-year-old son, who has additional needs, but mimics his dad's actions towards her. She said she needs space to get him in and out of the car. I've been in several bad relationships myself, but I was extremely uncomfortable with how bluntly she told me this information when we just met, so I made my excuses and left. Since then, I've found her to be extremely nosy and overbearing. Anytime I'm getting work done on my house, she comes over and demands to know what they're doing, even when it's clear that they're just painting my house or fixing my front door. One time, my friend parked in my driveway, and she banged on the door and told me to make her move because she couldn't get into her own driveway. The truth is, she just wanted to park in a particular spot and get out without banging her car door into my friend's car. She's quite a large lady and throws the door open fully when she gets out. She and her friends and family continually walk over my driveway, and they set off my Ring camera daily. However, I've bitten my tongue and haven't said anything because I still plan to put up the fence, and I didn't want it to seem petty or just in response to them treating my driveway like a shared one. There have been more petty instances, but they are not relevant here. Now, where I might be at fault is the fact that it would indeed be more difficult for her to get in and out of her car with a fence. My parents say that it wasn't respectful of her due to the family issues she told me about, and that her son can be difficult. He often stands on the driveway screaming at her. However, all I want is some physical distance from her. I'm sick of her being a busybody, and it feels like she feels entitled to use my driveway as well as hers, just because she's lived there for a long time. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update, comment 1, not the idiot one. She can't and won't respect your space. 2, length of time in house entitles her to nothing. 3, her friends and family don't respect your space. 4, you have a legitimate concern with your animals and the road. 5, I would want something physical between her house and mine, given everything you've described. 6, I don't think you should think twice about that fence. Comment 2, not the idiot put the fence back up, but also think about how you're going to deal with her complaining and whining at you for years. She likely convinced the previous neighbor to take it down due to an unrelenting campaign of harassment. It worked for her once, she's going to try it again. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the latest. So the fence drama escalated big time. Just when I thought I'd heard the last of it, my neighbor went and did something that really got under my skin. She started a petition in the neighborhood against my fence, claiming it would be an eyesore and that it wasn't in the community spirit. Can you believe that? Anyway, I was fuming but decided to keep my cool. I went ahead and got quotes for the fence, making sure it would look nice and not like some prison wall. I even picked a design that would blend in with the surroundings. But then her son, the one with additional needs, he started acting out more. He'd throw things over where the fence would be, and one time he almost hit one of my cats. That was the last straw for me. I had a chat with her, trying to be as understanding as I could. I told her about my own past, how I've been in bad spots before and that I get needing space. But I also made it clear that my home is my sanctuary and I need to feel safe. She didn't take it well, said some things about me not understanding because I don't have kids. It hurt, but I didn't let it show. The fence went up last week. It's beautiful, actually, and does its job. But here's the kicker. The day after it was up, I caught her trying to pry one of the panels loose. She was red-faced and huffing when I confronted her. She spat out some excuse about checking the sturdiness for her son's safety, but we both knew that was a load of rubbish. I was ready to call the police, but then her son came out, crying and apologizing for his mom. He said he liked the fence, that it made him feel like there was a boundary he couldn't cross, which helped him somehow. That hit me hard. I didn't call the cops. Instead, I sat down with the two of them right there on the driveway, and we talked. Really talked. Turns out, she's been struggling more than she let on. Her divorce is messier than a dropped lasagna, and she's scared of losing her son. She admitted she took it out on me because I was new, and she felt like I was changing everything she was used to. I shared some of my own stories, the rough patches I've been through, and how I needed the fence not just for privacy, but for peace of mind. We didn't become best friends or anything, but there's an understanding now. She's backed off, and her son has stopped his outbursts. I've even seen him sitting quietly by the fence like it's giving him some comfort. And my cats, they love their new safe space. So that's the update. It's been a chaotic few days, but I think there's a sort of peace now. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.